Yay. It's a little weird because there's my face. I'm gonna make it so it's quiet. Here. There we go. Hey. All right. All right. So AZ awesome sauce. All right. So thank you so much for coming. I have to blank out the picture though. I have to figure out how I don't want to see like the picture. I just want to see the live chat. And I have a really wide screen. Rob is live at UFO conference with Maya. Okay. Very, very cool. All right. So I think for me though, I'm gonna try and do this on a regular, if not semi-regular. I don't know if it's gonna be weekly or if it's gonna be once a month. But I think stuff is like pretty heavy and I don't want things to be heavy. That's the hard part. Because I think we get really serious about things. Hey. Hi, Kelly. Um, really didn't have any idea what I was going to talk about, but I think the whole thing for me is not being scripted, being organic as it were, and just trying to pull in what's not necessarily even what's relevant, but what can be helpful to what's going on. I'm gonna finish it up with pretty much what I'm planning on doing over the next few months. Some of the things I've done and to kind of do this more consistently and more relevant to be helpful. And it's not just about helping me, it's about helping, everybody likes to say the collective. It's like whoever's willing to, whoever's going to find this helpful. I'm not going to target any one people group, I guess, or belief system. But one of the things that seems to be prevalent in what has been feeding through some of the suggestions like in YouTube or they're all connected, Facebook, has been a lot of the psychedelics. And I read a few years ago that the government has acknowledged that they have official funding for doing psilocybin research. Probably been doing it for a minute. So a lot of people have been doing DMT and amanitas and kratom and this is not about not doing whatever is going to help you realize self and for whatever reasons that you're pursuing these substances, even if it's alcohol, cannabis, I don't care what it is, as long as you're going to be okay and not going to overdo it and cause some kind of weird psychotic episode, then it's a problem. But what came to me was about, I guess I could title this, if I could put a title up, it would be DMT and the Disconnect. There was a really good couple of YouTube videos that kind of broke down the different phases or levels of experience with using something like DMT. Because a DMT is something that you can create in your own brain, which I've experienced on a pretty awesome level I don't use DMT or cannabis or anything. Again, don't get defensive. This is a real tendency for people right now, is to get defensive. I don't really give a rat's patootie whether you use something or not. That's not what this is about. This is about having a greater awareness of the impact. Yippee skippy, have your experience. That's awesome. Tell us about it, document it, journal it, use it. That's the important part. So I guess each human has the ability to render like images in the mind with the senses. And I wrote this out just a few minutes ago. So the images might manifest as color, something that's formless, moving or static. It might be geometry, moving or static. I get a lot of geometry. I get a lot of, everybody's seen like those commercials or cartoonish type drawings where things it's a very simple drawing where it has images that would be people in a city that morphing into a city, people in the country, or they're doing different things. And I don't know if I'm describing that correctly or even so that you understand, but I mean, the idea is that it's the senses that are in your mind, and they can move really quickly as long as they're relevant, and you may not understand what they are. It might be a coding or a decoding of what's going on. It may manifest something as color, formless, moving or static, geometry, moving or static. Something that might be less accessible would be something like sound. I've gotten some sound, man. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the research, you're right, AZ, yeah, I think the psilocybin thing has been going on a lot earlier than the 30s. I think it's been since the beginning that little thing came onto the planet. Because if you think about it, look at the traditions around the Christmas. I think Portal to Ascension, I apologize, I don't remember the man's name, but did a really good job of talking about the traditions at Christmas, where you have the evergreen tree and I think it's the Amanita muscaria that grows underneath the tree. And they have like these cartoons of little happy guys, like tripping into the house, and the kids are happy. So, I mean, and I've talked to other people that say that you can take the psilocybins, the amanitas, and cook them, and there's a healthy way to process them. They're very nutrient rich. And it does not have psychoactive effects on the human brain with ingesting them, but they're very, very, very nutrient dense. So I think that because of what's put here, we have lost that ability to kind of, in a healthy way, process these foods. So I guess with sound, though, it kind of is, that can also be part of the experience, and it can be varied in intensity, speed, and volume. Again, I've also experienced that outside of that. Again, I don't use any of this stuff. So in this container, that's the physical form, we're all chemicals and structures are needed to process the data or the input, the experiences. And it's up to our unique chemistry to process that and interpret it. So I kind of feel like, so what's up with the DMT? Why was I given the phrase DMT and the disconnect? So with a lot of the personal experiences, it allows you to maybe deepen an individual perceived connection with self. I think the only thing that concerns me is that you can get so laser focused on something like that. Let's not lose sight that it's not just about the individual, but it's about connecting part of ourselves to the others and being aware of the others. This just popped into my head. I listened to this really cool thing on Y-Files about how There was a guy who went out and he had an experience with tall whites. And I think the thing that hit me the most with that was not just his experience, but that there was all this fear around it. And as soon as he left that entity's presence, for lack of a better way of putting it, his fear returned. So maybe there's like a really deep down decoding that needs to happen, or restructuring of our code to help us better interact with each other. So and reconnect with self. Well, if you're reconnecting with your higher self, with God, with your source of being, that to me means you're connecting with everybody that's around you. So when you have a really good network of people around you, there's less of a desire to connect with something up here, but it should be both. Should be both. DMT is natural, but the DMT that they're using is chemically, even if they try and say that it's something that's synthesized for our consumption, it's different. It's very, very, it's very different than when you naturally produce DMT. It's not the same experience. And again, there are different levels to the induced experience rather than the produced. So we can produce it within ourselves. We have everything. My mom didn't know anything about DMT. She didn't know diddy about this stuff, but she understood that everything we have is here already, and we don't need chemical synthesis or anything else that we need to put in your, DMT is a production within ourselves. I think that we allows us to communicate on a broader spectrum. I don't know if it's necessarily our higher self, which is a whole nother gig. So something to possibly remember is that everybody's starting point is going to be a little different. So your perception is going to be a little bit different. So DMT might produce something, a greater connection to the universe or a greater connection to others, whether you're in that experience or out of it. From this person's knowing that it facilitates a greater connection to what is here, not what's there. We need to be able to connect with what's here. And I think maybe that's what it's all about. Because if you're part of a collective, using chemically activating substances that activate the brain and connect you to a greater being, greater being of self, and your greater aspects, your divinity, if you will. All right, I wrote something down here. I don't know if I want to just blurt it out. Oh, okay. So when we ingest DMT, rather than placing our bodies in a position to naturally produce the DMT, so if you look at that scenario and compare it, don't know why I was given this, but it was kind of funny. So kind of compared that experience of ingesting something as opposed to getting yourself in a frame of mind to produce your DMT, your own in your own physical form, is kind of like having sex on your own as opposed to having a partner. I don't know how else more gently to put that. Does that make sense? It's a whole lot less fun than when you have a buddy to participate with. So the buddy would be self, the buddy would be within yourself, but when you chemically produce it, you're doing this on your own. You're doing this to initiate yourself. So I guess it's not actually, it really isn't about the experience itself. So if we step outside of that, so what's left after we've had that experience? How does that impact you, your perceptions, your abilities to connect to others? Because it feels like this is something that is needing to be perpetuated because we are separated. People have so much more paranoia now. It will be so much. You like that scenario, huh? Yeah. So yeah, it is a whole heck of a lot more fun with somebody else than what it is, and when you draw something in from others and you're with others, I go out to dinner, I try to go out to dinner at least once a week. And it's always more fun when I have somebody to sit down with and have a conversation with. As opposed to sitting there and enjoying some really good food by myself. Found a really good place too. It's quiet, it's comfortable. I don't have to worry about, where I'm at. So anyway, I mean, that was kind of it for me anyway. Um, so what am I doing in future? There's a goal to be able to do this on a Saturday at noon. That's Eastern Standard Time, US, to hopefully have whatever pops up that's relevant. Kind of scripted at this point. Lovely Constance Victoria Briggs gave me a plethora of awesome ideas. I am open to sharing this time with someone else. I don't want to get like a huge panel because I think as soon as you get big panels, it gets a little clumsy, a little awkward. Everybody's kind of like, I have something relevant to say, and it's not to negate that, but it's kind of like gets a little awkward. So the other changes is I'm probably going to start up a Discord. There's also probably going to be there's already an Etsy shop, but it's not under Auric Vibe 1111. It's Etheric Intentions. And I've been ordained so I can do spiritual counseling. I also have a Beyond Quantum Healing certification, and pretty skilled in motivational interviewing. I'm a mental health, what do you call it? Basically a case manager. Yeah, it's more than that. Because you just try to help people. And that's essentially all what we're here to do. So the ordination, the counseling, the motivational interviewing, the neurolinguistic programming, all of it's part of it. We all use it. The certificates, are in my back pocket, but it really doesn't mean anything unless you can use it. So anyway, I'm out there. I'm on obviously YouTube, but Rumble, Odyssey, you can, I'll try and post something in a comment or something like that later. But anyway, I'm going to try and maybe catch up with Rob, and I hope everybody has an awesome Saturday. Maybe I can get Constance to come on later, or next week or whenever she's available. And we can maybe talk about her experience with angels. I think that would be fun. That would be awesome. So I have to figure out how to, there we go. All right, blessings, everyone. Be kind, be safe. You are awesome.